Hello dear students, in this class we have to discuss about the principles of classification and tabulation. The last class we have discussed the data processing. The last two steps in data processing is classification and tabulation. So what is classification and tabulation? Classification is classifying the data in homogeneous order and tabulations is inserting them in rows and columns. So we have to discuss about the important principles of classification. The first principle is the number of classes should be preferably in between 5 and 50. That is the number of classes. If you are using the class interval series, the classes should be in between 5 and 50. And it can be in multiples in fives or in multiples of fives. It is better starting the class from 0 or 5 or multiples of 5. Okay, that is the first class is like 0 to 5, then 5 to 10, like that can be, or 5 to 10, or 5 to 0 to 10, 10 to 20. In that way we can also start the classes. The classes may be exclusive or inclusive method. We have already discussed the exclusive classes and inclusive classes. So it is better to adopt exclusive method of calculation. Okay, in exclusive method the class will be like 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30. That is the upper limit of the first class will be the lower limit of the next class. Then the interval should be equal for all classes. That means if the class interval of first class is 0 to 10 is that is 10, then the next class also should be with equal interval, that is 10 to 20, then 20 to 30. If the class interval of first class is 0 to 5, then the coming class should be also have the equal class of 5. Then if possible, open-end classes such as below 100 or 100 to 20, 200 to 500, above 500 should be avoided. As far as possible, we have to avoid open-end classes. That is, open-end classes will be like below 100 and above 500 or above 1000 or above 50, in that way. So as far as possible we have to avoid these open-end classes. Now we can discuss the important principles of tabulation. You know that tabulation means representing the data in tabular form, that is rows and columns. Then first principle is size. That the size should suit the paper size also. Then the table should have a clear, brief and adequate title. Then average table should have a distinct number. We have seen that in the project report or even in our textbooks also there will be a table number for each table. Then the captions and steps should be arranged in systematic manner. That is, the headings for rows and columns should be arranged in a systematic manner. Then units of measurement should be clearly defined. If it is in lakhs or if the amount is given, then it should be given whether it is shown in lakhs, crores or in thousands, whatever may be. Next is clarity, is very important principles of tabulation. Okay, the primary goal of tabulation is to make the data easily understandable. So we should be very careful about the clarity, and it should be a simple form. Okay, that means avoid unnecessary data. Then also order, the data should be arranged in a logical order. Okay, then use of headings, that is we already discussed, provide clear and informative heading for the table and also for its rows and columns. And there should be consistency, maintain consistency throughout the table. For example, if you are using decimal points, we can either avoid the decimals or we can round the decimal into 2 or 3. But whatever we are doing, it should be common for all. That is, there should be a consistency. Okay, and in one cell we are using rupees. In another way, if we are using dollars, that should not be a good principle of tabulation. So consistency is very important. Then totals and subtotals. Okay, if totals and subtotals are added, then it should be summarized in every rows and columns if needed. Then footnotes. Footnotes are very important in tabulation. Footnotes is an explanatory note to clarify data, that is to provide additional information or explanation to the content of the table. Okay. Then use of graphics. That is, we should use the graphics like we should be careful about the shading, highlighting, borders of the graphs, of the table. Avoid repeatedness, that is, redundancy should be avoided, that is, the duplication should be avoided as far as possible. Then the next principle is data integrity, that ensure the data table is accurate and consistent. Before finalizing, we should cross-check the numbers and perform quality to avoid errors. So these are the important principles of tabulation. Now we can look what are the difference between classification and tabulation. Classification is done after data collection. We know that editing, coding, then the next step is classification. Then after classification, it is tabulation. So classification, here we are only just classifying the data into different groups, that is homogeneous groups. In the tabulation, the present classify the data in tabular form or in rows and columns. Classification is just the method of storing of data, whereas the tabulation is the method of presentation of data. Classification helps to analyze the data, whereas the tabulation helps to present the data in tabular form. And saying about classification, their variables are arranged on the basis of certain characteristics, whereas in the tabulation they are arranged in rows and columns. Then in classification, we know that it divides the data into categories and subcategories, whereas the tabulation divides the data into heading and subheading. So that's all. Thank you.